welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, we're covering part 2 of the story about the guy who just found out that his wife, who he thought was his soulmate, wife of 25 years, was hooking up with a younger coworker because she needed to feel validated and get the attention because she was getting older. And this guy who really thought that his wife was his soulmate, he'd been going through a hell of a lot. He'd already been divorced one time when he was young because the wife was cheating on him. And then his son died at 27. Then his father died. And then he finds out that the wife was cheating on him. His whole world's a freaking mess. And you can't blame this guy for feeling the way he does and going the direction that he is. And again, I want to remind you that this guy posted this story initially on Reddit. And he was getting a lot of shit on there. So people from this channel saw that and said, hey, send it over to SSM. So this is where this came from. So now we're going to do an update to see where things continue on this guy's adventure here with his lovely wife. It says an update here. After spending Saturday morning formulating and reading the staggering number of comments, remember, he copied and pasted this from Reddit. He shut the Reddit story down because all the shit he was getting and sent it to me. I made my decision. He says this was written on Friday in June 2024. I removed it from Reddit and moved into here because of a few users actually tracked me down. I deliberately avoided turning to family and friends, seeking a view from an outside perspective, and I think it worked. My gratitude goes out to all who sent me private messages and responded constructively. Your thoughts on the matter helped me come to this conclusion. On Saturday evening, I approached my wife to apologize for the silent treatment. Dude, you don't owe her an apology for anything. I told her I wasn't attempting to punish her and acknowledged that it was childish. I told her I would have opened my mouth, I would have only been overly harsh and ruined any opportunity of a civil conversation. I promised we'd discuss it the next day. Well, you don't owe her a civil conversation. Bro, she cheated on you. And remember, there's a term called trickle truth, and you probably got the trickle truth. You didn't get the whole story here, and she's kept it up 6 years. On Sunday evening, I let it all out. I didn't cry or raise my voice. I asked the man's name, which he provided. I asked her if the man was married when she betrayed us, and she confirmed that he was. Shocker. That hit me hard, because she knew he was also with someone. I asked if he was still married, and she told me she has no clue. She hasn't seen him since the day she left for her new job. I told her I hoped they were, because I was going to make sure she knew. If my life had to be ripped apart, so would his. I thought that would get a rise out of her. It did not. She just nodded. Yeah, this dude's wife, this guy who was banging your wife, his wife deserves to know. I expressed my doubt about the affair being an isolated event, echoing the comments of several others. She maintained it was a one-off thing, and it was the sole reason she left her job. We've all heard that song and dance before. I explained that after 8 years of this lie, it's natural for me to question anything she had to say. I then made it clear that there is more to the story than she's admitting to. Now is the time to tell me and be open and honest as possible. Any further revelations would be a deal breaker for me, and there'd be no excuse that could rectify it. Okay, so he makes it abundantly clear. If there's more going on here, tell me now. You all heard it. She pleaded it was a singular occurrence, and she's been waiting to confess since it happened. Waiting to confess has been 8 years. What are you waiting for? I asked if he had reached out after her departure, and she's denied any contact. I responded that it didn't surprise me, assuming he got what he wanted and moved on to another person at work. It was the only cheap shot I threw. I requested that she leave the house for a few weeks. I wasn't telling her it was over, but I wanted to be away from her. I suggested she stay with her sister, her mom, or even rent a place anywhere but here. She could do one of those long extended stay hotel things, one of those things. I also informed her of my intention to discuss the situation with her daughter, who is 16, by the way. Some people have commented believing her to be quite younger. So your 16-year-old hormonal teenage daughter, who probably loves her daddy very much, is going to find that her mom cheated and her mom could ruin the family and hurt her daddy. To my surprise, my wife revealed that she had already told her about a week ago, which I was completely unaware of. She inquired about the tone of the house and my anger, and my wife confessed to her. Okay, so it's not like she told her before she told this guy. The daughter obviously knew something was up and went to the mother, you know. And the daughter probably didn't know how to go to the dad. Before my daughter went to bed, I asked her, and indeed, my wife had admitted that she had been unfaithful. I wanted to know why she hadn't come to me about it, and she told me she didn't want to make me feel worse. I can believe that. It was awkward. I decided to keep her home from school tomorrow to have a heart-to-heart about everything. It's important for me to understand her feelings and to emphasize that harboring hatred towards her mom isn't the goal. Well, you can say everything you want to say. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, because her feelings and emotions versus logic and reason coming from you, good luck. Her mother has always been loving and supportive. It's natural for her to feel angry, and that's okay, but picking sides isn't beneficial. Nobody wins in this situation. It's a tough reality I'm coming to terms with. Everybody loses. Tomorrow I plan to contact 3 local therapists and reach out to the grief counselor I met after my son's death. I'm not interested in couples therapy. I believe individual therapy is what I need, and since it's highly recommended, I'm going to pursue it. Well, I'm sure plenty of people on Reddit, when he posted this story, said, nope, it's not going to work. And that's what I'm going to tell you here, because that trust, you can't, once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't believe for a second you got the full story here. And it takes, you're not going to have that trust anymore. And you can't have a relationship without trust, amongst many other things. And you take back a cheater, it's only a matter of time whether they realize it or not that their respect for you has gone, and more BS is going to happen. I get you don't want to be divorced again after 25 years, and you're going to give every excuse in the book thinking people make mistakes, but that wasn't a mistake. Anyhow, my daughter's school year is ending soon, and I'm looking forward to spending quality time with her. I prefer to keep our plans private from family and friends. It's our personal matter. It is your personal matter. But remember, you got to control the narrative. So if it seems like you're going to get a divorce, make sure you control the narrative. Someone advised me about controlling the narrative. Aha! Probably one of my people on there. But the only thing that matters now is that my daughter knows the truth. I need some time to come to terms if the relationship is salvageable. I need this time for self-reflection and to assess the situation. When she asked if we were going to the route of legal separation, I clarified that it wasn't the case. I told her that when I looked at her, it brings up feelings of anger, which isn't healthy. To my astonishment, she consented to everything. She doesn't want our relationship to end, and I reminded her that her actions with him forfeited the choice to me. She mentioned my wedding ring as a sign that she still matters to me, and I assured her that she does. Well, I guarantee you she's watching to see if we got the wedding ring on. I propose we conclude things there. As I walked by, I touched her shoulder, she nodded in agreement, and later she phoned her sister and made plans to stay with her the following evening after work. There's no way she's going to go stay with her sister for a few weeks or a month and not, say, by the way, here's what's going on. I guarantee your wife is telling people. So it is important to control the narrative, but, you handle this best you can. It continues. Here's another update. I'll give one in a month or so. I think I made significant progress. I'll try to keep it brief, although there's much to share. A couple of days after my wife moved in with her sister, I reached out to the spouse of the person she had the affair with. This is going to get interesting. I messaged her on a different social media site requesting a conversation about her husband and apologizing for the intrusion. When I didn't hear back from her after several days, I searched for her profile again, but couldn't find it, leading me to believe that she had blocked me. I would text or talk to my wife every evening without bringing up the affair, simply asking how we were and engaging in conversation. On Fridays, we'd meet and dine at a restaurant where I'd share news about the new novel, and she'd recount her work week. Yeah, I'm sure those meetings and those dinners were awkward. I confess I miss her terribly, and she misses me too. I'm aware that many people here will wish for us to reconcile. Your messages have reached me, and I truly value the outpouring of concern and affection I receive. Yeah, it's important for you to understand that I'm in pain. This ordeal has been brutal and gut-wrenching for me. Yeah, again, shortly after, his dad died, and his son died. And again, remember, his first marriage ended because his wife was doing the same shit. Therapy has been going really well. Initially, I was scared they might push me in a certain direction, but it's been completely the opposite. They've encouraged me to make my own choice and figure out what's the best for me as I look forward to the future. Well, then you got a good therapist. Fast forward to last Monday, I checked my phone and there was a message from the affair partner's wife. Let's refer to it as B for simplicity. B had received my message and was anticipating my reply, but her husband had seen the message and blocked me without her knowing. Man, this guy's a sneaky shit. Cheating on her, banging your wife, and I don't think it was a one-time incident. Got into her messages and was blocking you. Man. She was bracing for the worst. I suggested we meet up, and she agreed. We met at a local park, sat on a bench, and I shared everything with her, just as I had recounted here. I braced myself for either outright denial and anger or a flood of tears. Instead, I got a third scenario. She discovered his infidelity with a coworker 3 years prior, and they had been repairing their marriage ever since. He had assured her it was an isolated incident, and that he had been faithful otherwise. Her anger was palpable, but it wasn't directed at me. She told me this was the last straw and was disgusted with him. She questioned if I was certain it was her husband before she went and scorched earth on him, and I confirmed it was without a doubt. Okay, so what he referred to that happened a few years earlier was somebody else. So yeah, this guy's a serial cheater. We shook hands, and then she left, infuriated. This wasn't anywhere as satisfying as I thought it would be. The mixture of anger and sadness on her face struck with me throughout the ride home. I messaged my wife to let her know that I had spoken to B about the incident. We anticipated this conversation during our previous discussion, so she was prepared. After hearing what B had said, my wife's reply was filled with regret. And his wife said, I was so fucking stupid, I should have known. She spent the evening texting apologies until I asked her to stop. Yeah, did his wife actually think that she was his only one? This guy is cheating with multiple women. Probably married women. On Friday, I was dealing with an issue of a drainage pipe on the side of my house that had become uncovered. Thanks to my new Labrador puppy's relentless digging. While I was outside, a shovel in hand, a dark green sedan pulled up. A man jumped out and started pacing along my fence's line. His face was flushed with anger. Oh gee, who could that be? I asked if I could help him, and he snapped back, yeah, you can quit messing up my marriage. I smirked and replied, you managed that all by yourself before returning to work. This scumbag shows up at your house, on your property, and he's yelling at you for messing up his marriage. Motherfucker, talk about a narcissist. Talk about, well, typical a-holes of this day and age. You were banging my wife, motherfucker. You were putting the moves on her, or at least you took part in this whole thing, because remember, I don't entirely believe everything she said. And look where I am now, and you're coming here yelling at me. I have a right to tell your wife. I said, I smirked and replied, yeah, you managed that all by yourself before returning back to work. The internet is notorious for its tough talkers and phony badasses. As for me, I'm 50 years old, with high blood pressure and occasional issues, so fighting is the last thing on my agenda. To set the record straight, I'm over 6 feet tall, weigh about 220 pounds, and in decent shape. I don't lift weights, but eat healthy and take long walks when the weather permits. The guy in question was barely 5'6" and no more than 140 pounds. Not to diss you shorter guys out there that are 5'6" and weigh 140 pounds, but it's not advisable, unless you had some serious training, to go up against a guy that's 6'2", 220s, outweighing you by like 70 pounds. The likelihood is not going to go well for you, unless, of course, you've had some serious training. And then this guy's showing up at his yard here, yelling at him. To say I was surprised when I met him is an understatement. Honestly, it got to me that he was the one she picked to turn our world upside down. He was younger than me for sure, but unless he fell off a cliff in the last 7 years, he was average at best in all areas. He wouldn't stop pacing and swearing at me as I worked. Again, he's on your property, yelling at you. You have a right to say, get the fuck out of here, asshole, before I beat your ass, or at the very least, call the cops. Where I live in Florida, somebody shows up on your property and they won't leave, you're allowed to handle things accordingly. But that's Florida. And probably Texas. He wouldn't stop pacing and swearing at me as I worked. Eventually I confronted him, questioning whether he came to just shout or if he intended to do something. He asked if my wife was home, calling her by her name, and it struck a nerve. Now he's there on your property yelling at you and calling to talk to your wife? Dropping the shovel, I marched up to the fence and gave him a 10-second warning to leave, or he wouldn't be leaving. In hindsight, I regret that. My daughter was inside, and I should have remained calm. But my patience had worn thin. The smug little shit dared to come to my house and berate me for his infidelity. Dude, don't regret anything. I bet your daughter thought it was badass. A young girl wants to know her dad's tough and can fight for her and the family and himself. Believe me, I bet your daughter probably would have taken pride seeing you beat his ass. We stood in silence. I hadn't thrown a punch since high school, but it seemed we were heading towards that point. Suddenly, he yelled an explosive comment and stormed off to his car. Of course he did. He's a pussy. The confrontation ended as abruptly as it had flared up. I was dumbfounded. Why come here and to just curse and act like a fool? Because he is a fool. Probably he's got a complex because he's no offense to the shorter guys out there, a short dude, a little guy, and he has to make up for it, I bet he probably knew you were a big guy, and that probably made him feel good about himself. Who knows? As he opened his car door, I couldn't help but laugh. And I said, "Later, little fella." His response was a garbled mess of words about suing me for his divorce. Suing you for his divorce and his divorce? What's he going to sue you for? He was banging your wife. This is the reason you guys are probably close to divorce here. It sounded like he was on the verge of a breakdown. He slammed the car door and sped off. My neighbor, watching from his porch, looked at me. I just turned and shrugged. Your neighbor, that's probably the best entertainment your neighbor's had in a long time. I messaged Bea to inform her that her husband had just come by and what had happened. I mentioned I'd be contacting the authorities since my daughter lives with me, and I wanted to avoid any undesirable outcomes. Yeah, I would let them know. Absolutely. They can go pay him a visit and say, "Stay the fuck away from this guy." And then there'll be a record of this incident in case this escalates. Bea requested my number and called to tell me she had kicked him out and he was now with his parents. She's in the process of divorcing him, and apparently he's not handling it well. Yeah, I figured that. After calling the police, they visited to discuss the situation. They've also spoken to him, and I plan to touch base with them soon after finishing this. Now on to the weekend with the wife. On to the weekend with the wife and where I stand. She told both sides of the family what had happened and was honest. I wasn't blamed, and she's taken the brunt of everything. She wants to come home. She wants to work this out. The problem is the trust. It's gone. If she comes home, will I be able to take it if she works late? Or will I be suspicious every time the phone notification dings? I don't want either of us to live that way. She's done everything and is showing remorse for her actions. This is so damn frustrating. Christ, I need a vacation. I'll update you soon. There's been a lot more. Thank you, SSM, for your time. Well, bro, take your time. I think you do need a vacation. Seriously. I think you need like a road trip. A good road trip to drive around the country, think things through, figure things out. But you can't have a relationship without trust. And if you truly think you're not going to be able to function straight without questioning everything when she works late, she's on the phone, notification, she goes out with her girlfriends or anything like that, which, by the way, as a married woman, she shouldn't be doing girls' nights or any of that type of crap. But remember, bro, once a cheater, always a cheater. That's very nice that she is behaving in a manner that shows that she's remorseful and apologetic and all that. And I'm sure you're thinking, I want to have our daughter in a broken home because your daughter, her childhood, what happened to her then. But you got to take care of you. At the end of the day, you're going to do what you want to do. But I would definitely, if you haven't done so already, consult a lawyer. Find out your options, good, bad, or ugly. If your wife makes more money than you, that puts you in a better position, obviously, than you making more money than her, blah, blah, blah. You just start watching my channel. My opinion is once a cheater, always a cheater. And even if she shows you all the remorse in the world and is so sorry and all that, you usually did not get the full story. I guarantee you did not get the full story from her, even though you made it clear, tell me the whole fucking story here. And it's just not going to go well long term. And a lot of guys in your shoes, because I've done so many stories, 3,000 plus videos at this point across all three channels, the ones that give their wives a second chance, down the road they end up divorcing anyway because they just will never get out of their heads, or the wife is up to no good down the road. He says she has major issues with her getting older, and it was the attention and validation to feel like she still has got it or something like that led her to the mess, according to her. Well, that's not going to stop. Her crave for attention and validation and to feel like she's still desirable and wanted is not going to stop. I'm telling you now. And frankly, you have every right to be checking out her social media, checking out her phone, checking out her computer. If you haven't done that already, I'd be doing that because I just don't buy it's going to stop. And so she could be in the moment feeling awful and not wanting to ruin your family and the repercussions and all, but still. So I'll leave this up to you, but You know my feeling on the issue. So, bro, please keep us updated. I appreciate you taking this off Reddit and sending it here, because believe me, this community will help you. You're not going to get many trolls making you out to be the bad guy here, because this guy posting on Reddit, I guarantee you, he's getting a lot of crap from people making him out to be the bad guy here and that type of thing. And we're not going to have that over here. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Give this guy a shout out. Give this guy some advice if you have been in a situation like his. We can hopefully help this guy out. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.